Welcome back. You're listening to The Voice of Russia in London. After months of crisis talks, European ministers agreed a €2 billion bailout for Greece on Tuesday. It seems they can breathe a sigh of relief, but the debate is ongoing. Some people want to see Greece out of the Eurozone and back with the drachma, while others think more can be done for the stricken Greek economy. Analysts say Greece is still far from sound fiscal health. So should the sick man of Europe stay in the EU or be left to fend for itself on the continent's fringes? To shed some light on that question, I'm joined in the studio by David Coburn, chairman of the UK Independence Party in London, and Petros Fassoulas, director of Euromove, a British pro-Europe think tank. So my first question is to you, Petros. Quite simply, should Greece be in or out of the Eurozone?
Well, I believe that Greece should certainly be in the EU and should also be in the Eurozone. It's remarkably important that the country doesn't default at this particular moment. The economic consequences for the country itself will be catastrophic. The value of the currency, the new currency, will go through the floor. The cost of the debt will go through the roof. People's savings will evaporate. The banking sector itself will explode, perhaps, and that will have an effect as far as the rest of the EU as well. The European banking sector is remarkably interconnected and integrated, so a collapse in a few banks in Greece will have an effect in the rest of Europe. Not to mention that already Greece's European partners have invested quite a lot of money in supporting Greece. The European Central Bank holds about 40 billion of Greek debt. Eurozone member states have lent Greece about 50 billion, and of course European banks hold quite a lot of Greek debt still. So the pain to the European taxpayer will be considerable, and we can avoid having to take that pain by doing what's necessary to keep Greece within the Eurozone.
And David, considering the state of Greece's economy at the moment, do you feel that they should remain inside the EU or outside?
I think they should leave. I think it's the European Union is not a good thing for Greece. I think Greece needs to have the freedom to set its own interest rates. I think Greece needs its own currency. They've tried everything else. All they're doing is delaying the inevitable. And what will happen in the end, they're actually making it worse. Greece would be much better having a controlled exit, but it should have happened some time ago. Leaving it this long has been catastrophic for Greece. This would have been better organised beforehand, having a measured withdrawal from the euro and setting up the drachma again. Because this system cannot go. There's going to be a revolution in Greece if this is not done.
I don't think there is a danger for a revolution, and we should be careful using inflammatory language like that, because the social situation in Greece is indeed serious, but we shouldn't make it worse by this kind of language. It is important, I think, for the Greek political elites to agree on the right remedy to reform the economy down there. And up until now, they have been using the wrong instruments. They are putting too much emphasis on austerity. What they should be doing is actually confront vested interest, open up the professions, open up the economy as a whole to more competition, improve the taxation system, so avoid evasion of taxes, which has been costing the Greek economy tens of billions per year. So there are a lot of things that can be done, and it's up to the Greek political elites to perform those tasks. The European leaders and the partners of Greece have been helping Greece with its debt burden and have reduced by 50% almost the debt burden of Greece. Now it's up to the Greek political elites to do what's necessary to reform the economy.
Yes, but the Greek political elites don't have that opportunity. You now have, how should we put it, a viceroy of the European Union now telling them what to do. I mean, this is hardly democratic. Is this what the European Union is all about? It's a multinational dictatorship.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, calling it a dictatorship and comparing it with dictatorships like in the Middle East.
Who elected these European commissioners?
They are civil servants. And
they're civil servants. So we're now going to be run by civil servants?
No, the contrary. We have a currency union in the EU, and what happens in one economy has an effect to the rest of the Eurozone. So it's important that decisions that affect the whole of the Eurozone are taken as a whole. And that's why we are reforming the governance of the Eurozone to make sure that those decisions are taken in common. Appointing civil servants, European civil servants, to assist the Greek authorities with the reform program, it's welcomed by the Greeks themselves.
Well, are they assisting? They're telling the Greeks what to do. And if the Greeks don't do it, the money won't come through. It's like blackmail. It's
not blackmail. It's what's necessary to be done. The money is separate to the reform that is taking place in the Greek economy. The money goes there to reduce the debt the debt burden of Greece. So Greece doesn't have to pay a huge amount in interest going forward. And once we have reduced the debt, we can focus on reforms. So you are focusing too much on an antagonistic sense, which is not there. This is a partnership and a cooperation.
Well, it basically doesn't work. The euro does not work. I'm a currency broker. That's what I started off life doing. I saw this coming along, and I said, this won't work. This is ludicrous. No one in the finance markets thought this would work. It was a political, and I stress this, it was a political agenda. It doesn't work. It's been proved to be a failure. All you're doing is rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. It's going to go down. The euro's going to disappear. It's only a question of time. As far as I'm concerned, the only reason they're trying to keep the thing going is probably because so much money is owed to the French banks. The French banks will go under, at least one or two of them probably will. And President Sarkozy won't be elected. So all this is about Mr. Sarkozy and Madame Merkel trying to make sure Mr. Sarkozy is re-elected. They'll probably drop Greece anyway.
I can understand how, as a currency broker, you might find the euro uncomfortable because instead of having 17 currencies, you only have one of them now. So I guess it makes your business a bit more difficult. But I don't think
unfortunately, I've retired from that, so it's not a question of that. But
I don't think the Eurozone was just a political project. It was an economic project because exactly it created the stability necessary to promote more growth in the EU. You had stable interest rates. You had low inflation rate. So that made internal and external direct investment much easier. It made trade much easier. It made comparing prices much cheaper. So there were a lot of economic arguments behind setting up a currency union, as much as political situations.
Yes, but
because
you have
politics and economics are very much interlinked, and the euro have been very successful in the first 10 years.
Anybody who knows anything about this would know that unless you have a common government and you have the ability to move large amounts of labour here, there, and everywhere, as they do in the United States, then it simply won't work. You cannot have a currency which is based on what's good for Germany. What interest rate happens to be good for Germany may not be good for Greece or Italy or France. And this is not just Greece that's going down the S-bend. It's Italy's on the brink. Spain's got 24% unemployment. If that's not a recipe for revolution, what is?
And just to remind you, you're listening to The Voice of Russia in London, and today we're discussing Greece's second EU